The DC-2 was a significant aircraft in the development of commercial aviation. The DC-2 was highly successful for Douglas, being sold and flown over the world, in addition to serving as the basis for the highly successful DC-3 that followed it. The DC-2, together with the Boeing 247, brought in a new era of safer, longer, and faster air travel. This is the story of the Douglas DC-2. The beginning of the DC-2 story originates in a 1932 specification issued by American airline Transcontinental and Western Air for an all-metal tri-motor to update its aging fleet of wooden aircraft that were beginning to become costly to operate and maintain. TWA were not able to buy the new, modern, all-metal Boeing 247 due to rival United Airlines having placed orders and essentially blocking all other orders from competitors until they had their Boeing 247s. Boeing and United Airlines were both part of the United Aircraft and Transportation Corporation, and thus Boeing barred all orders for 247s until United had received their aircraft. This forced TWA to look for their own aircraft. The tri-motor requirement was due to tri-motors being considered safer in the case of an engine failure. Douglas designed and submitted an all-metal, low-wing monoplane with a retractable undercarriage powered by two 650 horsepower right radial engines, and named the DC-1, Douglas Commercial 1. The DC-1 could seat 12 passengers, two more than the Boeing 247, and flew for the first time on the 1st of July 1933. Due to safety, TWA demanded that the DC-1 could fly with one engine. During September 1933, the DC-1 took off from Winslow Airport, Arizona, cut one engine, and flew to Albury, arriving 15 minutes in front of the usual scheduled TWA full tri-motor flight that had left Winslow in front of the DC-1. It was evident that the DC-1 was quite revolutionary. TWA placed orders for 20 DC-1, but with added changes. The capacity was increased from 12 to 14, resulting in a 2 feet increase in the length of the aircraft, and new, more powerful engines increased the top speed and range of the aircraft. This did require some additional work for Douglas. On the 11th of May 1934, the first DC-2 took to the skies. The aircraft was revolutionary for commercial flight and was instantly popular. By the end of 1934, every major airline in the US but one either had a DC-2 in order or already had them in service. In January 1935, the Scientific American magazine described the DC-2 in the following words, quote, "There is not the slightest doubt that American airliners now surpass the design of every other country. Without prejudice to the other fine ships, the Douglas DC-2 may be recorded as the supreme American achievement in transport design." End quote. Consequently, the Boeing 247 failed to sell. The DC-2 dominated the skies, setting 19 American speed and distance records within the first 6 months of service. Orders came in from across the world, with many European airlines including LOT, KLM, Swiss Air, CLS, and Lufthansa all placing orders for DC-2s. European orders were conducted through the Dutch firm Fokker, who purchased a license from Douglas and assembled the aircraft before they were delivered to the European airlines. In Britain, Airspeed Limited also purchased a license for production, and these DC-2s would have been designated AS-23 by the company. However, Airspeed never delivered a single DC-2. In Japan, Nakajima Aircraft Company acquired a license and built 5 examples of the DC-2, while a single aircraft from Douglas was assembled by the company. Finally, a single DC-2 made it to Russia, where it was copied and built without a license as the ANT-35, powered by Roan Gnome M85 engines. Throughout its career, the DC-2 would carry the flag of 21 countries. The original DC-1 prototype had been a gamble for Douglas, with it costing $350,000 to build. It wasn't until the 76th DC-2 had been assembled that Douglas began making money off the aircraft. Eventually, 130 DC-2s were produced, making the aircraft a success for Douglas. One of the most famous and significant events for the DC-2 was its entry into the England to Melbourne air race of 1934. The year 1934 marked the centenary of the state of Victoria, and to celebrate the special occasion, the Royal Aero Club, with sponsorship from the business tycoon Sir Macpherson Robertson, set up the 1934 Mac Robertson Centenary Air Race. Providing a prize pool of £15,000, the race would start from Mildenhall, England, and finish in Melbourne, Australia, with compulsory stops at Baghdad, Allahabad, Singapore, Darwin, and Charleville. The race would test the endurance of flight. The race was set up with two separate divisions, speed and handicap. Dutch Airlines, KLM, entered the DC-2 IVA, registration PHAJU, into the air race. KLM also decided to run the race as a normal passenger flight and carried 3 passengers and 25,000 letters to Australia. It also meant that along with the compulsory stops, the IVA stopped at 21 locations in total and covered an extra 1,000 miles than the race course. The IVA encountered trouble late in the race when on the final leg from Charleville to Melbourne it got lost in an electrical storm at night over Albury on the New South Wales-Victoria border. Albury had no runway at the time, but the IVA was picked up by the local radio station, and the people of Albury assembled on the Albury racecourse where 80 cars lit up a makeshift runway. The IVA managed to land safely, but got bogged in the mud. Still, the following day, with the help of 300 locals, the IVA was pulled from the mud and took off. It completed the air race, finishing in second behind the purpose-built racing aircraft, the de Havilland DH-88 Comet. It had only finished just under 20 hours behind the DH-88 Comet, quite an achievement considering the IVA was a commercial aircraft. The IVA claimed first prize in the handicap division and managed to beat a Boeing 247. The DC-2 was also adopted for military service, with the US Army Air Corps and later the US Army Air Force being the biggest user of these transport aircraft. The first variant was based off the XC-32 prototype and known as the C-33. C-33s flew with a Wright R-1820-25, with other modifications including the installation of cargo doors on the back port side of the aircraft. 18 of these were produced. The C-39 was a mixture of the DC-2 and the new DC-3. It had space for 16 guests, increased horsepower from the Wright engines, and perhaps most majorly, it incorporated the center wing section, engine nacelles, and larger tail of the DC-3. The larger tail was in particular a significant advancement, as it corrected the instability of the DC-2. Additionally, a single C-39 was converted to take the Pratt & Whitney R-1830-21 series of engine and was designated C-41. There was only one model of the C-41, which was utilized as a VIP transport for US General Hap Arnold. Another single example was the C-42. Again utilized as a VIP transport, it incorporated 1,000 horsepower Wright 1820-53 engines. In Navy and Marine colours, DC-2s were used as a VIP transport and designated as R2D1, with 5 of these ordered. The final variant of the DC-2 was the C-32A, which was 24 civilian DC-2s that were pushed into military service at the beginning of World War II. With production finishing in 1939, total production figures exceeded 190 airframes. The DC-2 had brought with it a new era of faster, safer, longer, more accessible airline travel. It would serve as the basis for the B-18 Borlow bomber, as well as the highly successful DC-3, which was built in tens of thousands. The DC-2 marked the beginning of over 60 years of building airlines for the Douglas Aircraft Company. There is no doubt the DC-2 was a highly successful aircraft that helped revolutionize air travel. Today, only 8 DC-2s survive. This video is proudly sponsored by the official Tomato Wine store. Go fly over there by clicking the link in the description below to find some really awesome aviation products. Thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure to go leave a like and subscribe for future videos. In the meantime, Keep flying high.